Okay, well, Bruce has brought up what I call the two excuses for impeachment, called time and distraction issue. The matter of distraction, I think, is distracting us from all those good things that Bruce says that Congress needs to do, is just not a realistic argument, because in Congress today, all the attempts to do the right thing have met with either vetoes or signing statements. What chance is there that this Congress can address items of true national emergency with a president that has no respect for the laws that are passed by Congress? So the two arguments that Bruce puts forward, I believe, are excuses. I think that Congress's most important job, what could be more important in any case than defending the Constitution and defending our constitutional form of government? Sure, the war is important. Sure, health care is important. All of these things are important. But is there anything more important than defending our system of constitutional government?
It sounds as though this is an argument between principles versus pragmatics, and you're both on the same side. You are adamant that our country is first and foremost founded on rule of law and principles, and you, while not disagreeing, say that given practical constraints, those principles are impractical at this time. It's not worth it. It's not a good idea. And I've heard also that if they, from a getting elected point of view, the Democrats would like to get the White House. If proceedings got started and it didn't go the way you thought it would go, it could turn into a backhanded endorsement for the Republican Party. And I've heard that from off-the-record person at the House Judiciary Committee who has something to do with proceedings getting started. So there's a political element to this whole thing as well. You folks would like to get into the White House with either Hillary or Barack, and there's fears of this now, and it's been said that maybe people are, I don't know, cowards or afraid, or I don't know if that's too strong of a word, but within the House, within the Democratic Party, you folks are essentially divided. And I've heard it said that a house divided cannot stand. But how would you like to respond, Bruce?
Well,
to anything?
I mean, first of all, let me go back and talk a little bit about the analogies that Jane drew with the Nixon Watergate issues. I mean, that was an event unto itself, and I don't think that it really has any applicability here for a number of reasons. There were overt criminal acts perpetrated at the behest of people directly under the president with his knowledge. The issue and I was in law school when those Senate hearings were going on, and I spent a lot of time watching those hearings instead of studying, because they were just fascinating.
Right.
Seeing people come before the hearings and expose the president, and it wasn't until it wasn't the impeachment hearings that became the issue. It was the Supreme Court's enforcement of the subpoena for the White House tapes that ultimately led to his resignation. I mean, when it was 9-0 and it was clear that he had to give up those tapes, and he gave them up, and it became so obvious that he not only knew about the break-ins, he endorsed them, and then he tried to cover up those break-ins. And these break-ins, as people may not remember, fundamentally undercut the rule of elections of one man, one vote. The president used the FBI and the CIA and all kinds of covert operatives in order to get re-elected, to subvert the political process as it is outstated in our Constitution. I mean, you know, I saw somebody say there was a, a photograph of Ford, Reagan, and Nixon at one point, and he said, you know, see no evil, hear no evil, and evil, and he was pointing to Nixon. And you know, Richard Nixon was one of the brightest men probably to ever hold the office. I mean, he was incredibly smart. Not something that can be said for our current president, or vice president, perhaps. But he was so involved in and so insecure that he was willing to do anything. The man was unscrupulous. And his view of the fact that he could do anything he wanted because he was the president was really the problem that he encountered. There wasn't any real issue concerning impeachment, and it never came to even came close to an indictment because he just left. He knew the game was up, and he just resigned. And so I just don't see any analysis that you can make that equates the two. Now, you know, are we talking about you know, practicality versus principle? Well, maybe, but you know, principle, you have to define what you mean by principle. I guess, you know, isn't it the principle of the government, and isn't it the principle, at least of the Democratic Party, that, you know, we need to do the business of the people? And perhaps we have to make evaluations. We always have to make evaluations about what excuse me, is important and what is less important. Because politics is the art of the possible. It's horse trading. It's exchanging this vote for that vote. It is getting things done. It's making sure that that people have a minimum wage that is livable. It's making sure that people get health care for the kids. It's making sure that there are jobs for the hardworking people of this country. And those are things, those aren't just practicalities, those are principles as well. They're principles of the Democratic Party. They're principles of, you know, fundamentally how this country needs to take care of its